Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I'm going to work on one more of Troy's reels. This one is a Penn 430 SS. It's the last of the spiral drive ones before they switched over to the more traditional main gear and crosswind block oscillation gear type of reel. This one's highly desirable, and this is the I believe it's the second generation of the reel, the third generation, I guess. You had the greenies, then you had the black golds, and then you had these shielded spool ones. And this is the 430 SS. The one after this was the 4300 SS, and I went to a graphite frame and changed the design over to a larger main gear and a crosswind oscillation system. So we're going to take this apart. Before I do that, I generally like to test the reel. Do I have an anti-reverse? Do I have a bail trip? Is it smooth? Do I hear anything odd or unusual? And that'll just give me a clue as I go to tune up a reel if I have to pay any attention to broken pieces and parts. This one feels fine. I also like to start by thanking our first responders and essential personnel, all of our uniformed folks, the police, fire, rescue, and the like, as well as all the folks in medical, our local hometown heroes, and those in our supply chain that are working every day to keep us safe and keep us doing what we should be doing during the pandemic. All right, let's start by removing the exterior parts. One of them is the side plate. I took the screw out of that, and we can probably see why it needs a little bit of a tune-up. That's very dried grease in there. That's certainly been in there for a while. So I'm going to take that side plate, I'm going to put that into my parts tray, nothing more than the bottom of a plastic jug, and we're going to move along here in terms of taking them off. This is a push-button spool. I'm going to take that off and set that aside. And then I want to remove my main gear. In order to do that, I'm going to have to take my handle off. And then I can remove my axle shaft by removing the set screw in the bottom of this gear system. Now, it's important to me to clean a reel, and it's important to me to service a reel on an annual basis. There's no reason why reels should get to the point where the grease is dried and bogged down the performance. Yeah, we're all in a rush from time to time. I get that completely. But from time to time, it's overlooked, and then the next thing you know, we have a problem in performance of a reel. So I'm just trying to work this through right now. It's been stuck there a long time. I'm just going to see if I can't use a little bit of leverage from a screwdriver as I pull up to pull down on this arm here to help me along. Okay, once you remove that screw, simply pull up on the axle shaft. That'll remove your axle shaft. That will go into my parts tray as well. Now I'm going to spray this down with some penetrating oil. I'm doing that for two reasons. I'm going to let that penetrating oil soak in to get rid of some of this hardened grease, but I also have a screw here, and from time to time those things get very sticky. And I want to kind of give that a little bit of a boost there by helping to unwind from that. I'm going to use an appropriately bladed screwdriver. That means that there's no wobble. It fits that groove in the screw precisely, and we're going to walk that out. So this crosswind arm that I'm removing now has a little collar underneath it that it's riding on that main gear on. It's not directly attached to the main gear. Don't lose that. That's this little piece right here. And take a picture along the way. That flat side is down on this one. I've seen these reels come in where they put them in with the flat side up. And that screw has got a collar on it that's going to work through with that. All right, I'm going to just use some mild steel wool here to just knock some of that hardened grease off. That penetrating oil worked pretty good. I think the rest of that is just scarring on here. Oh, there we go. See how nicely I cleaned that up? We want to do that on the front as well. Any kind of dried grease is going to interfere with the swing and the flow of these pieces. So you want to make sure that while you're servicing a reel, you clean all the parts as best you can. There's various pieces that I use, cotton swabs, paper towels. In this case, the grease was pretty dried on there, so I went a little bit more aggressive with the steel wool. All right, that goes into my parts tray. Next, I can push out the main gear then. And this one's kind of an interesting one. This one has a anti-reverse that's driven by a fork. This is a friction-driven anti-reverse. Note that when you go to reinstall. I'm just going to, I'll take this off so that I can show you how to reinstall that in a moment. I want to clean the excess grease off of that. That's going to go in the parts tray. I'm going to clean the excess grease off the main gear. I'm going to check the main gear. This is very dry. There's no grease or anything in the teeth. I'm looking for cracked teeth. I'm looking for bent teeth. Anything that looks unusual there that would degrade the performance. Once I'm satisfied that that's okay, I can go ahead and put some new lube on the teeth, a little bit on the face of the gear there. It's going to slide around with that, and put a little bit on the axle in the back. I'm just going to sit this off to a side for a moment because we got to go up top here now and remove the balance here. I think that's a screw that I can reach with a offset box wrench. We're going to remove this. It comes off in the traditional counterclockwise manner. We should be able to remove this now. We have a flat spring that's holding on the bearing in this one. And there's usually a little corner on these that you can work a little pick or something behind to get that out. I'm going to use 2 small flat-bladed screwdrivers. I think that might work better. Okay, and that's it. And this is the piece I was talking about. You'll notice that there's one indentation on that one side where you're able to grab that. Be careful, that thing will shoot. Now we should be able to pull up and remove out on the bearing assembly. Notice when we do that we have a nice stainless steel cut spiral gear. You want to clean that off. You may need some assist. This stuff has been there quite some time. And I'm going to flush the inside of this case too while I'm working on the one. There's no sense delaying anything there. We can certainly get to let that penetrating oil do its stuff while we try and get some of the solder grease off of this one. This is a good time to tell you, if you are working on a reel, take pictures. It's real easy to just get ahead of yourself, start pulling a lot of pieces off, and then wonder what sequence they came off, where they belong in the reel, and so on. I've worked on this reel enough to know that where the general outliers are on it. But if you're doing this for the first time, do that. Also, get a schematic. The schematic for this reel is available at mysticparts.com, and if you go there, you'll get a picture of what all these pieces and parts are and the orientation of it, and that will help you to kind of understand what you're in for as you go to take these reels apart. And it will also give you some guidance if you get stuck along the way, which part goes where, what the orientation of it is, and so on. All right, well, I'm cleaning out that inside of the case now. It's a beautiful reel. I always like these reels a lot. Come down here and clean off the bottom of that. I'm going to oil that anti-reverse eccentric, spool eccentric. Make sure that our lever works nicely. We're going to take the oil as well. We're going to oil that bearing. I'm going to take some grease. Just looking for my grease brush. I'm going to use Penn Precision Reel Grease for this. I'm going to get a little bit on the inside where that races for the bearing. It'll go like that. And then we're going to get grease onto the teeth of the spiral gear. Okay, that goes back in the carrier here. And if you like, you can put a little bit of grease inside the carrier. That way the next person gets to take it out. Hopefully avoid some of the stickiness that those bearings have from time to time. Put a little bit on that end shaft that's going to go through the bottom carrier here. We're going to reinstall that. We're going to press down, and then we're going to reinstall that spring clip. Be very careful. These things shoot. So make sure you get the one side into the groove before you do anything. So if it's not seated properly, it's going to give you a reaction that you really don't want, which is a shooting experience. Notice there was just a little bit of a... So what I like to do is I like to hold that spring with my finger so that it doesn't shoot. It's not a very powerful spring action, but it will shoot based on experience. All right, that's in there now. And that's what's needed to do for that top end. We're going to come back now. We're going to do that main gear that we just put up. And I told you at that point that we would also show you how to install the anti-reverse dog. The anti-reverse dog is a friction-driven dog. It has two forks on it. Hopefully we can see it that way. One rides on each side of this little star on the back of the main gear. You're going to want to set it like that. Now with everything greased up, you're going to come in and you want that anti-reverse dog to sit on this post. It's going to take a little bit of aiming and a little bit of manipulation, but eventually you will get that to lock properly. Just like that. So we have this sitting on the post. The arm is up. The main gear should be turning now. And you will have a friction-driven... Oops. Oh, okay, I didn't lock it in. That's what caused that. I don't have the handle on. If I had the handle on, it wouldn't have pushed up. All right. And put the handle on, show you. Tighten that up. So as you're spinning, the wheel is working, and as soon as you back, you can see that anti-reverse works. The purpose of this eccentric here is to push that off of there so that it's free to turn frontwards and backwards. Okay, that's your main gear assembly. Next up, we're going to install the rotor. Just check underneath, make sure that that rotor is clean. This rotor has a little bit of it's called a keyway. It's going to sit properly. There's a flat side on the axle shaft, or the pinion gear rather, and you need to line that up with the square cut for this hold fast. And then we can get our rotor nut on next. And this came off traditionally, which is a counterclockwise, so it's going back on traditionally, which is a clockwise tightening, just like that. And now we can reinstall the axle shaft. You want to get a little bit of grease on that. Don't put a lot on, because when you come through the pinion gear, it's just going to scrape off if you put too much on. And get it to about there. Going to take our components for the crosswind arm next. We're going to put that ferrule, remember, the flat side down on the main gear. And line the hole in the main gear so that I can get the screw in. Start the screw. I like to start it by hand. Now this screw has a collar on it, so you need to make sure as you get this in that the shoulder clears. I don't have that lined up properly. Let's this again. Okay, so start it by hand as much as you can. And you can introduce that screwdriver. Remember, I used a wide blade screwdriver on this. I want to make sure that I get that right. And then you have a collar on that main screw there, so you have to kind of play around it a little bit so that the work is seamless. Now you can align that hole in the crosswind gear with the axle shaft. Okay, you line the hole with the axle shaft. Make sure that you have the hole centered for that screw. Go to your parts tray and get that screw. And you're coming up almost on completion. So at this point, I generally like to test the reel before I go any further, because I have it all open. There's no sense. Oh boy, look at the difference in that one. Wow. That's just a beautiful reel. All reel. Okay, I have a little bit of debris left on the inside case here from that old grease. And you can see the difference how cleaning a reel, getting rid of the old grease, fresh grease in there, makes all the difference in the world. They go a little bit more aggressive there. So if you have any questions on reels, this reel or any reel in particular, if you leave them in the comment section, I do try to respond to those questions. If you have a reel that needs to be serviced, like Troy, I do repairs by mail, and I'd be happy to provide you with repair information. If you contact me on the email, on the business card that follows, I'll be happy to respond to you. If you're doing this yourself, I congratulate you for that. And that's kind of what this channel is all about, teaching you to do it and kind of passing along my knowledge here. All right, well, that case is as clean as it's going to get. I'm going to put that case back on, and the only thing left then is go up top there and look at that drag system. It's a single drag up top. It's a big HT100 drag, if I remember. And there's not much maintenance required of it, but you do need to, actually this one might be Teflon. I think the 4300 is the HT100. All right, to service the drag then, you just take off the, you might have to hold the pinion in the back here of that sleeve. You should have a metal washer, kind of a spring clip. There you go. Metal washer. Now sometimes it's hard to get this out. If you push that sleeve through, then you can pull it out. Yep, that's what we have. So you want to clean this up. Good way to do that is just to use that all-purpose cleaner there, that penetrating oil. Get all the dirt and debris out of there, because it won't operate that efficiently with the debris. Now we can clean that Teflon washer off. Teflon washers do not need any kind of lubrication, because by themselves they're a petroleum product and they're self-lubricating. Once you do that, you can put your metal back in, bring your shaft through, place your tensioner on there, close this down, and that's your drag system. Beautiful reel all around. Troy, you got a nice one here. All right, you just snap this back on. Final test. Final test. That's a beautiful reel. Nice smooth operation. We have our anti-reverse. Nice tripping bail. And for the bail, you don't need to service a bail unless the bail's broken. Put a little bit of grease or oil, not grease, on both slots just to make it turn freely. You can put some on the line roller here. That's not a burring, but you can put some on there. Nice, quiet, functional reel. Check the backspace. Back works fine. Forward, everything's good. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed this on how to service the 4300 Penn SpinFisher. And I hope you have a great day and continue to have good luck fishing. Please, if you know a local hometown hero, first responder, thank them for all it is that they do. And stay well, stay healthy, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.